Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hi, this is Season 2, Episode 2 of The Circle on Wisp Sports Radio. I'm Ash Nelson, and at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. The Circle is a monthly podcast about field hockey featuring exclusive interviews with players past and present, so please sit back and enjoy listening to these superstars of the game. Representing your country in any sport is an achievement, but what about those almost sickening athletes who excel in more than one sport? In Australia, names such as Erin Phillips for basketball and AFL, Elise Perry, soccer and cricket, and Ash Barty, tennis and cricket, all spring to mind. And today, I have the privilege of chatting with ex-Hockey-Roo come AFL player for Collingwood, Georgie Parker, to see how she's managing this very transition. Georgie Parker, welcome. I have to say I've been looking forward to this chat. Over 100 games for the Hockey-Roos and now heading into your second season as a player in the Australian Football League with Collingwood Football Club. Is it a bit surreal to be talked about as a cross-code athlete?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the word star gets thrown around a lot whenever you do any form of interview. And when they tell me that I'm a Collingwood AFLW star, I try to play that one down. I'll cop the hockey star. I won't cop the AFL star, but I love it. It's something that I wanted to do for such a long time, just like many of the girls. I wanted to play football and couldn't, and to finally be able to give it a go and play the dream that I watch, and it's such an iconic Australian sport to be able to play it. It's just like a little kid's dream come true, and I absolutely love it.
Your first season of AFL, you transitioned from being an Olympic hockey player. Do you think there was an expectation on you to be good, and was that you putting pressure on yourself, or was it sort of the external environment doing that?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, you're going to have a little bit more pressure from you internally and within the playing group, I think, because you're there taking a spot from a footballer, I guess, and I had to really make sure I was really professional. And to be honest, I probably was even a little bit more professional than I was when I was playing hockey, much to probably my coach's dismay. But I think I really took it on me just to make sure that everyone knew that, hockey players were really elite, that, I was the fittest I could be and the strongest I could be, and did everything right, because I wanted to do not just myself proud, but I wanted to do my sport proud. It's such a worldwide great sport that I wanted to make sure people knew that we were really, top-notch athletes. But in terms of external pressures, I actually didn't feel them that much. I think people kind of were, she can't be that good. She's playing a sport that uses a stick. She's not like a soccer girl that's coming over, that's used to using their feet, or a netballer that's used to using their hands. So I didn't actually feel that. I think people just didn't know whether I could play or what my capability was. So I didn't really feel that. But internally myself, I did definitely put that pressure on myself because I didn't really want to be a flop. I wanted to play, and I wanted to play again this year, and I probably want to play again next year and another year after that. So that's coming from me, though, but I think that's what athlete life is. You always put that pressure on. You always want to be better and better. And but, the coaches were really supportive in my transition, because it is a tricky little thing and a massive hit to the ego, really. I'm going from being one of the best in the country and, in one of the best teams in the world to essentially being the worst in my team, and I hated that.
Well, it is interesting because really with the start of the women's AFL, there probably isn't a huge selection pool of actual footballers to choose from, just given the fact that women's AFL hasn't really been around that long. How do you think the girls responded to a lot of those athletes like yourself coming across from other sports?
Yeah, and we've got a lot in our team, and our team's managed to recruit really, really good cross-coders. Some of the cross-coders in other sports have lasted a year and then haven't been able to stay in the program, haven't been able to pick up. And I don't know whether it's Collingwood's attention to detail in how they're teaching us, but I mean, we've got Ash Brazel, who's one of our best defenders, who's a current netballer with the Magpies netball in the Netball League. We've got Eliza, who's an Australian volleyballer. We've now got a Gaelic player, one of the best Gaelic football players in Ireland, who's coming over, and she's an absolute jet. And then we've got Shani Layton as well. So we've got 5 elite cross-coders in our program, and all of us will play games this year, and we've probably got the most in the league, in the AFLW league, most amount of cross-coders. And I think the girls, essentially to begin with, are probably a little bit standoffish, but then realise that we've got so much to give outside of just our skills, our professionalism and our athleticism. And, I guess the way the game is at the moment, it's just a contest. It's just winning those hard balls. We don't have those silky skills like the boys. So it's just about winning those hard ball gets. And it sounds really, cliche, but it's just about effort. You don't have to have talent to be able to do those skills, and I think that's what we've got that gut and determination and those egos that don't want us to lose. I don't want to lose. I hate losing, and whether I'm going to lose a one-on-one contest or lose a game, I don't want to do either of them. So it's something that we can bring to them and really help them pick up that attitudinal sort of stuff. So I think once they realise that we're not a threat, we're here to make them better, then they kind of were a little bit more embracing towards us.
Well, you're talking about bringing things over from hockey. Hockey and AFL are vastly different sports in terms of the actual game. But what have you been able to bring across from hockey and put into that AFL team?
Yeah, so the skill-wise, clearly very, very different. We're used to never letting the ball touch our feet, and now I have to use my foot skills all the time.
Although it did happen quite frequently in hockey, didn't it?
Sometimes, just we'll not go into that. But the foot skills and the hand skills, very, very different. But in terms of actual structural play, very, very similar. The way we press, the way we move the ball forward, the way we swing the ball around behind, the spaces that you want to get to, they're actually really, really similar. And, we're popping up and doing a drill and I just go, oh, this is one of Como's specials because it's exactly the same drill, just different skills. So for me, the skills were really, really hard to learn, but the spatial awareness and those sort of positioning wasn't. I mean, I've watched the game as well since I was a little kid. I've been an Adelaide Crows member since I was born, so that part of it was okay, and it's more the skills. But then you look at the netballers, and they're used to being in a tiny little court, and for them it's very, very different because they're used to being able to make those intercept marks or grabs and the jumping and all that sort of stuff. So their skills are probably a little bit better than mine, but in terms of spatial awareness, and not so good because they're used to being in such a smaller sort of area. So we've all got different sort of skills that you kind of bring in, and I guess football is a sport that's made up of a stupid amount of sports that all merged together to become what it is today. So I guess you kind of add a little bit of everything into it, and everything that I get taught I put into my hockey sense because that's how I learn and try to do as best as I can with the football skills with it.
It's kind of interesting when the women's AFL started up, there was a lot of naysayers and there was a lot of people talking about how women's physiques really aren't suitable for AFL. What's your response to that, or what has been your response to that? Because you're in the media quite a bit, so I'm sure that you get asked that question quite a bit.
Yeah, well, women, we're not big, we're not as strong, we're not as fast, we're not as fit as the boys. That's just how our bodies are made up. It's getting better. If you look from year to year to year, we're in our third year now, and the times we're running our 2Ks are dropping. The strength that we're lifting in, the heaviness we're lifting in the gym is vastly better. It just takes time, and, I mean, it's going to be a different game, and that's what I think they need, the public need to realise. It's not going to be the high-flying game that it is like the boys, but we're really going to be really competitive. And I think once we look at it as it's not the exact same game, we're playing the same game, it's very similar rules, it's a little bit different to sort of cater for us. But once you sort of get your head around that, I think you kind of look at it with a different light. We're not going to be taking the Jeremy House screamers every 2 weeks. We just won't be able to do that. But, geez, we're going to be fighting hard for that ball and really get down and dirty and do it because we want to win just as much as they do. But, I mean, the physiques will come. They'll become more and more athletic as we come on. We're getting the programs coming through from when they're at school now, just like the boys. So the academy girls are going to come through. They're going to be in the gym from when they're 14, 15, just like the boys, as opposed to, some of the girls here, 28, had never been in the gym before because it's just not what girls were doing at a younger age. So it'll improve and in a couple of years' time, you won't be able to have a cross-coder like me get into a program and be able to get games. It will take a really special athlete to be a cross-coder in a few years' time. Once those girls get through their programs coming through at a younger age, and it will really improve and the game will improve and evolve just like the men's have over the time too. I mean, you look at the men in the 70s, how fit do they look?
Well, a few of them had a few beer bellies on them, didn't they?
Exactly. The game changes, the athletes change, just like we will as well. So if people just have to give it time, and the expectations need to really meet what reality is. And the reality is that we're part-time athletes, and, essentially when we're full-time, that's when it'll really pick up.
You mentioned before that you grew up in Adelaide and you were a big fan of the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, mighty Crows.
Was it ever an option that you could have actually gone and played for Adelaide Crows, or was Collingwood always your first choice? Because for those that are international listeners, Collingwood probably wouldn't be most people's first choice unless you're from Collingwood.
Well, Collingwood's the Real Madrid of the AFL. They're the big club. That's what everyone wants to be a part of. I did actually have some interviews with the Adelaide Crows, and, they're my dream team. You know me. You've seen photos of me as a kid. I cut my hair as an 8-year-old to look like my favourite Adelaide Crows player. I was obsessed with them.
It resembled a bowl cut, really, something like off Dumber and Dumber.
Yeah, I looked great. I looked like a little boy. I loved them, absolutely loved them to bits. But you spoke earlier that I work in the media, and I just needed to be in Melbourne, where all the work's being done, all the producing of all of the footy shows, the footy production of everything is here. So wanted to be here, and when I spoke to my manager about it, I said, I'll play AFL if I play for Collingwood. And it just so happens that Collingwood are really keen on me, and, amazing facilities, amazing club. And to be honest, it worked out to be a really good time to swap teams, because the year before Adelaide broke my heart in the grand final.
Yes, I remember.
And then, yeah, you remember. And then, this year my heart got broken by your lot in the grand final, but Crows sucked. So it was a really good time to switch teams into the Collingwood team. But, I've been a Collingwood member now for a year, and I've already lost one tooth. So I'm picking straight up with the look and the readiness of being a Collingwood supporter.
Perfect. I love that. Once again, Collingwood are known for not having too many teeth. So, yeah, you've slotted right
too many
in
teeth
there.
or too many brain cells. But, I'm picking it up.
Growing up, was there ever an option to actually play AFL? Do you think that you would have pursued that path if it had been an option, or would you have gone with hockey?
No, so I was 8 and I was playing netball. I lived in a little country town. I was playing netball, and I used to get picked up for contact all the time and hated it because I used to be really rough. And I said, Mum, I don't want to play netball. I want to play football. And she said, you can't play football. It's a boys' sport. And she said it broke her heart having to tell me that I couldn't play something for no reason other than the fact that I was a girl. Literally no other reason. And I said, but why can't I play it? She's like, it's just the way it is. And, really hard. She goes, but here, have a hockey stick. It's a big field. You can run around. And, and I took to fish in the water. I loved it because I could run around and be a little bit tougher and hit a ball really hard. But if football was an option, I don't think I would have ever picked up a hockey stick. And look, clearly I'm so glad I did, because I would have never met, Ash Nelson if I hadn't played hockey. But, and I got to travel the world and go to the Olympics and live these dreams of mine. But I think my dream of going to the Olympics was because I couldn't play football. It is what it was. And back then I couldn't, and it wasn't a thing for girls to do. But now I just love that the girls have an option. I've got little sisters. I've got an 8-year-old sister, and I said to her, hey, do you want to play football? She goes, no. I go, oh, that's okay. You don't have to play football. But I can actually ask that question now. And that for me is just really I love it, because I could never get that question asked of me. I said, do you want to play netball? That's all I could get asked to play. And so it's changing the landscape of what girls can do, and I love that.
Physical preparation, essential in both football and hockey. What's the difference in the approach? Are there different focuses?
Yeah, there is. I think because I thought, oh God, I'm going to go to football. The field's 160 meters long. I'm going to be I'm not going to be fit enough for this. And I actually feel as though I run further in a football game, but it's probably easier running, because hockey's so changed directions, really power running, a lot higher pace, I think, because the game's so continual, it doesn't really stop. Whereas football, there's a few more stoppages. You stop after a goal, you essentially stop after a point. Every time there's a ball up, you stop. So there's a lot of longer running, but not as fast running. So, the physicality in football's huge. You're getting hit, you're getting corkies, you're getting knocked to the ground and getting back up. So, our 150 burpees that we used to have to do every gym session back in my hockey days are really, really helpful in football. But, I think that my preparation for my hockey has really made me, quite a good runner and quite a good athlete in the football, because I actually find it easier than the hockey running. Different though, because you need to be strong in different aspects. You've got to be able to be strong overhead. In hockey, you've got to be strong down on the ground. It's very, very different, but at the same time, the aerobic capabilities is quite similar.
What about weight and just the general physique of the shape of the player?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what your position is. I mean, you don't want to be a slight frame, do you? And I speak to my stepbrother who played AFL, and he said he used to weigh himself on a game day about 5-6 times a day, because he wanted to be, he goes, if I weigh over 96 kilos, I'm going to be too heavy and I'm not going to be able to move. But if I weigh under 94 kilograms, and I'm going to get pushed off the ball. And I was like, well, that's a bit weird. And I kind of get it now. You don't want to be too dainty when you're playing, because you need to be able to be strong, and because there's that physical contact where you're getting pushed when you're under where the ball's about to drop. But at the same time, you can't be carrying weight, because you've got to be able to run your 12 Ks in the game, So it's that fine balance of that power to weight ratio, doesn't it? Where you can't be too slight, but you can't be carrying that extra, and you don't want to be towing that caravan up the hill like I used to get told in hockey. So, but I think it's important. But I mean, in all sports, you're going to have these different physical traits, and it's always about that balance, because you want to be strong, you want to be fast, you want to be fit, and you can't be the best at everything. So it's finding that perfect balance. And football is such a crazy, weird game with so many unique different skills that it's very hard to find that balance, more so than other sports, I think.
Looking at your hockey career, you went to the 2016 Rio Olympics, and after that you retired. Looking back at your career, though, what do you think was the most difficult thing for you to manage being involved in such an elite program for a number of years?
Well, rooming with you was up there with one of the tougher things.
I agree. You did really well. Well done. Not too many people have come out the other side of that unscarred.
No, I mean, hockey was a full-time program. We trained 6 days a week, and we didn't really get a rest, especially being in Australia, where your opposite seasons to the Europeans. So the international stuff was when we're trying to have our breaks. One year, our first tour of the year was in January, and we came home, and our last tour of the year in middle of December. So we didn't really get that break and that balance, and that was really, really hard. And it's probably why I retired at 27, because I didn't think I could commit 100% to that very, very intense lifestyle anymore, and I didn't think that I could have put in 100% for my teammates or myself, and I didn't want to be that teammate that was dragging behind. And I mean, clearly there's the athlete physical stuff that's really, really hard, having to look after your body 12 months of the year. You know me, I'm not that great at that, and having to constantly be worried about what you're eating, what you're doing on your off days, what you're doing in your holidays was really, really hard for me. So yeah, it's a tough slog being an athlete, but that's why not everyone can do it, and what makes the highs really, really amazing, because once you do achieve something, you know how hard you've worked. It's not just that day, it's years of preparation for that final match. So it makes it worth it when you look at it in the big perspective, but it's just those little things that all add up, and not being a normal person is really, really hard.
Well, just on that, what would you say was your high across your career as a hockey room?
I mean, clearly the World Cup silver medal was amazing. I mean, I always talk about, when I speak to schools and stuff, and I talk about, you can win a gold medal or you can lose a gold medal. I mean, you can win a silver or lose against silver. And I think we won that silver medal. We didn't lose the gold. We played as well as we could have and lost to a really amazing team. I can cop a silver medal performance when you know that you couldn't do any more. And I think that team was a really special team, that we loved each other. We were away for 6 weeks and not a single issue, and we come out with a silver medal, and very, very proud of that. But then, of course, we've got the gold medal Com Games, where it was so dramatic, wasn't it, Ash? Where just everything happened. So that one will always stick with me, because just of how it happened, but I think the significance of the silver medal at the World Cup was pretty, pretty special.
Well, I mean, on the other end of the spectrum, there's also the lows, and you went to the Rio Olympics, which resulted in a sixth place, which was no doubt a disappointment. And looking back, I actually read one of your tweets after you lost to New Zealand in the quarterfinal, and you said, "This hurts more than ever. Sorry, Australia." Why apologise to the country? What were you going through at that point in time?
I think we had this expectation on ourselves to do as well as we could. The fact that we didn't perform, and like I said, I can cop a loss if you've given everything and you've played as well as you could and you lose. I can cop that. But to lose to a team that, we beat a month before 5-1 and play not as well as we could have, I think that was really disappointing. I mean, you're representing not just yourself, not just your team, but you're representing your country, and the investment that the country puts into us, not just over that 2 weeks, but over, the whole 4-year period is huge. And to not be able to come back with anything to show was so disappointing. And, I was sorry to the country and sorry to, the people that, did put everything into being there. And, and I remember I went up to Donnie and I said, sorry, Donnie, who's our captain, because she'd been through 3 Olympics and not once had won a medal. And I think that was the team that could have, and we didn't. And it was just so disappointing. And, I felt like I needed to apologise. And, I mean, I know that I didn't. I know that everyone, was saying the longer you're out of it, the more you appreciate what you've done. But I think in the moment I just felt like I had to apologise because we could have been better and we should have been better.
Well, it seems like you do get perspective with time, because then it was an Olympic day the other day and you said, I used to get embarrassed about talking about Rio because we completely underperformed. But the longer you've been out of the sport, the more you appreciate the enormity of living out a lifelong dream. So it sort of seems, although you were disappointed, you've kind of come around to the fact that you actually went to an Olympic Games, and that's an amazing feat in itself. Yeah,
definitely. Especially when I'm around hockey and, you're talking to people like Jamie Dwyer, who've won a gold medal, Mark Knowles has won a gold medal, and you feel like, oh, well, they've won a medal and I haven't, and the more you're around normal people who actually go, oh, that's amazing, you went to the Olympics, oh my God, what's the village like, the more you're around people who will never ever be able to achieve something like that for whatever reason, or even people who have tried to achieve it and haven't been able to, and the fact that they're completely overwhelmed by what you do. The longer you're out of it and out of just a really elite environment where subconsciously I think you're very competitive with these people, the longer you're out of it, you really do appreciate it. I mean, I'm one of very, very few. You're one of very, very few people to have ever competed at the Olympics. And out of those people that have competed at the Olympics, even a smaller few have won a medal, let alone a gold medal. And I think once you're out of that, you realise, I said when I was 10, Mum, I'm going to go to the Olympics. And, she goes, oh, okay, sure you are. I didn't think that I ever would, because
get a better haircut and you might go.
It's one of those things that you don't think you ever do it. It's always a pipeline dream. And I actually got to do that. And it took a really long time for me to do that. It wasn't as straight as, I got to go to 19. I got to go at 23. I got to go at 27. I took till I was 27 to be able to go. I'd played hockey for 20 years until I could go. And once I, get your head around that, it makes you feel a little bit, I don't know, more what's the word I'm thinking of? I feel like I've achieved a little bit more in life because, you come out of your sport thinking, oh, God, I've done nothing except hit around a hockey ball for the last 10 years. And you feel a little bit silly, but then once you realise that you're aiming towards something, you feel a little bit better about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
During your time in hockey and football, you would have come across some amazing athletes. Who do you think's inspired you most, or do you have a role model?
I know it sounds really stupid, but whenever I talk to anybody at football, because, people ask you that sort of stuff, but mine was, again, our captain, Donnie. Every single thing she did, she ticked all the right boxes with everything, every single on the track, off the track. I just, we used to have that motto, be more like Donnie. What would Donnie do?
What would Donnie do?
What would Donnie do? I actually still think about what Donnie would do, and I try to, the older I get, I'm not such a rat bag anymore because I think, why am I wasting this? What would Donnie do? And I still do that. I mean, you're going to always have the Roger Federers of the world, but I don't know them. I know exactly what Donnie did on and off the track, all day, every day when you're living with them on tour, and I saw everything that she did, and for me, it's something that I take into my football career now of being like that and trying to help the young kids like being like that and trying to get them to not be as much like me as a little kid and be more like Donnie. Because, like I said, it's a person that I actually know. So it is Madonna Blythe for me.
Well, I thought it actually might have been the famous actress Georgie Parker, who you share a similar name with. Now, she starred on All Saints Home and Away and Country Practice.
Yes, gold Logie winner.
Gold Logie winner.
I'm very busy.
Any perks have been associated with her or sharing her name?
I actually think it's her birthday today because I've been getting a few tweets saying happy birthday. So I no tweets, no perks really, except every time I book an appointment, that's an annoying name. I go, yeah, it is. But I was working with some guys at Channel 7 and they said they were up at the Logies and I said, oh, Georgie, are you looking forward to the AFLW season? And she goes, oh, I've heard that one before. So I think she's going to get a few perks from being associated with an athlete like myself.
With you, right.
Yes.
I like it. Now you're turning the tables. How many extra Twitter followers do you have that think that you're the Georgie Parker from All Saints?
Oh, I think a considerable amount. I think I'm her because I get it all the time of, oh, you were so great on today's episode. I cop it all the time. I'm going to go a few thousand, absolutely think I'm an actress.
On a slightly more lighthearted note, your Twitter profile, you claim to be an airport etiquette expert and you use your Instagram on a regular basis to teach those less travelled or really rude people etiquette on the plane in regards to use of the armrests and also accessing luggage. Do you care to share your advice?
Well, where do you start? Airports bring out the worst in people, don't they? There's the slow walkers that just won't move out of people's way, four berth wide, important to not be like that. On your phone, slow talking. If you're going to be on your phone, you've got to be on the edge of wherever you're walking.
I see.
Baggage carousels. Now let's start at baggage carousels. Okay. You cannot stand 3 centimetres away from the baggage carousel. How do you take your bag off when there's somebody right there next to you? You've got to be able to have walking distance towards it, so you've got a swing room to get your bag off.
I see.
Of course. And of course, armrests. The middle person gets both armrests.
Right, and then the outside people only get the one?
Yeah, they get their one on the outside because, let's be honest, so window seat, you get the better view, you get somewhere to lean your head, and one armrest. The aisle, get a little bit more leg room because you can, sort of edge your feet over. Just be careful of the trolley when it comes through, and access to the toilet, easy access to the toilet, of course. Middle seat gets nothing, no perks in the middle seat. Worst spot on the plane, of course. There's a lot of rules and it should be taught in the school curriculum. But I've written a letter. I've started a petition, so we'll maybe get that on board and get some etiquette through to the younger generation.
I think that we're all a little bit smarter now from that education. But it does seem that, you play football, you played hockey, but your third sport that you participate in is Twitter banter and conducting controversial polls on Twitter just to justify your arguments. So I'm going to work through some of the Twitter polls and I want you just to justify what your argument is there. And listeners, they can play at home as well. So first one, where do eggs belong, fridge or cupboard? What was your response?
Well, I worked in a butcher, Nelson, and we had the eggs stored on top of the fridge, not in the fridge. So I always store mine out.
Right.
But
you'd be wrong, though.
I was in the minority here, and it's very rare that I'm in the minority. I'm usually right.
87% were for the fridge. I mean, I'm a fridge girl, but that actually surprised me with that response rate. Anyway, the next one. What is the correct dipping order to sauce your wedges? Sour cream, then sweet chilli, or sweet chilli, then sour cream?
Well, I do sour cream, then sweet chilli.
Yes, I do too. And, I mean, we would be 68% in the majority. We'd be correct with that one, so well done.
Yeah.
Which term is more passive-aggressive? Okay, champ, okay, mate, or okay, hero?
I think champ is very passive-aggressive. I can't remember the answer to this one. I think champ, but also hero. You don't ever want to be a hero. No one wants to be a hero.
57% with the champ, so that one there clearly was the winner out of the three of them.
Yes, good.
And the final one, is soup a meal?
Well, we've discussed this, Nelson, on a basis, a very often basis. Often basis, even in English. Soup is not a meal, and anyone who says soup is a meal is wrong.
Well, 61% saying yes. I mean, maybe it's a meal, but it's just not a good meal. I don't know.
It's not a meal. It's not a meal. It's water with a little bit of flavouring in it. It's not a meal. And people go, oh, but what if it's got noodles in it? It's still not a meal.
Still not a
It's
meal.
a starter. It's a starter. And, you know, I'll cop it for lunch. But if somebody said, come around for dinner, I don't think you fed me soup before for dinner.
But as an entree.
Oh,
not as a
no, I
main.
reckon you fed it for me as a real meal.
Oh.
But if somebody said, come around for dinner and they serve up
Soup.
some chicken soup,
Yeah.
what would you say?
Oh, well, listen, I'm really embarrassed about myself now. But
I think you've actually fed me, and then you said, but it's hearty. It's hearty soup. I said, yeah. But I went home and had a McFlurry on my way home, didn't I? I was still hungry.
Apologies about that. Now, listen, they don't seem like hard-hitting questions, but you get a good sample size. I think 597 people responded to your soup question, so well done you.
I get bigger ones now, so you know, I'm big dog on the old Twitter.
What's the
minimum
next,
1,000 hero?
What's your next thoughts on your Twitter poll?
Oh, well, I'm not sure. I just, you know, I see what I see, and I just think the people want to hear this. And I just tweet what they want. I just go with it. So I don't know. It just comes to me, and I tweet what I see, like I said, and people relate to it. People relate.
Well, what's your Twitter account name?
Georgie Parker.
Georgie Parker.
Just straight Georgie Parker. And I don't know how I got that when there's actually a famous Georgie Parker. And that's why I think people think I'm an actress, because they wouldn't think some commoner has her handle.
Oh, well, everyone that's listening can actually follow you, and they can be up to date with the next Twitter poll, whatever it is that you come up with.
I'm an A-grade pest. Welcome to join in on the banter.
Well,
but if you try to troll me, I always give it back, so give it a crack.
Fantastic. Sounds great. Georgie, thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure talking to you, and good luck for the start of the Australian football season. Hopefully you get some games there.
Thank you. February 2nd, be there at Geelong.
Happy holidays from Wisp Sports.
Thanks once again to my guest, Georgie Parker. You can, of course, follow her on Twitter at Georgie Parker. Wisp Sports Radio can be found on any podcast app. Follow Wisp Sports on social media as well at Wisp Sports. Please give us a 5-star review on iTunes to help promote coverage of women in sport. Thanks for listening and supporting women in sport everywhere.